It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Akim Oguniro, who is the founder and CEO of a senior reality company, and also the CEO of Home for Me Nigeria Limited. Akim Oguniro recently retired from the UAC of Nigeria PLC, having served as managing director of UAC and Property Development Company for 8 years. He was also the managing director of MBS Logistics. He was a lecturer. He was a company secretary. He was a marketing manager. He was a corporate planning manager. Mr. Oguniro, during his 8 years tenure at UPDC, changed the narrative for the real estate industry, leading his team to deliver a landmark and iconic project in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Ibadan, Abuja, and many other places. A former Fulbright visiting scholar at the Yale Law School, United States of America, he has attended several high-level management training programs, including the Unilever IMS UK, General Management Program, and many others, He has represented Nigeria in many international conferences, of which he was invited as a guest speaker. He is a recipient of many awards, including the Federal Government Scholarship for High Academic Standard, Fulbright Scholarship, Joint Best Individual Performance in Management Accounting, Osun State Government of Nigeria Merit Award. So you have collected my state government award before. So it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to welcome you on the program today.
Thank you, Festus. I'm very happy to be here.
Mr. Paul Owanbe, that's okay. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes. Also here today as a very important guest speaker is Mr. Babajide Odusolu, an innovative entrepreneur with a strong creative flair, analytic drive, and a passionate focus on the evolution of successful indigenous enterprises. He founded Legacy Realities Limited and Legacy Holdings Limited in 1997 and 2001 respectively, and served as project coordinator and managing director Legacy Realities. And Legacy Reality pioneered several transformative projects, initiatives, and the most successful were Heritage Place off Masari Road, Sangotedo, which was the first project delivered in that neighborhood, and Hosing Bay Estate, Lafiaji, which again was the first successful project on the Usan side of several alphabets. And soon after the completion of this project, he was appointed as a special advisor to the immediate past governor of Ogun State and managing director of Ogun State Property Investment Corporation, OPIC, one of Nigeria's largest investment company. Mr. Jide, you are welcome on the program today. It's also my pleasure this morning or this afternoon to introduce my speaker, Mr. Paul Owanbe. He is the Group Chief Executive Officer of Landmark Africa. He began his career in the built environment with a formal education in architecture, property development, and construction management. Together with a London Business School, MBA merit in value engineering. Paul has over the 25 years of professional experience of design and execution of projects in Africa, USA, and Europe. He has expert knowledge of commercial property and workplace management and led landmark expansion into America, Europe, and Africa. has raised in excess of $100 million of funding for Landmark and grow the company to achieve PwC endorsed book valuation in excess of $300 million. Paul is an African business leader with a deep and passionate interest in real estate in Africa. Mr. Paul, it's my pleasure to have you as a guest speaker today.
The pleasure is entirely mine. Thank you.
Mr. Gide, are you able to get back to me? Are you here
now?
Yes,
I'm back. Sorry, I had data issues.
I can see.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Yes, sir. I also have with me Mr. Liu Schumann. Mr. Liu has, throughout his career, been an innovative social entrepreneur, tackling diverse social problems in multiple industries. That experience over a diverse career has helped to develop and apply scalable solutions to complex global social issues. After serving his country in the United States Navy early in his career, Liu pioneered a leading model for plaintiffs who were out of work due to traumatic injury. After selling his growing business to a private equity group, Liu's business interest in the seafood industry resulted in the creation of fishing co-ops and building export facilities in South and Central America for export in the U.S. market. Liu, a decade leader, Liu turned his attention to affordable housing and helped pioneer innovative housing strategies, including public-private partnership in the United States. Liu led an organization that developed and built new and rehabilitation thousands of affordable homes in devastated communities within culturally diverse populations, ultimately taking the expertise to Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Liu is leading the technology company, HiBuild Global, co-founded, which has developed HiBuild, the end-to-end mobile platform for the construction housing space in developing countries, with partnership contributions from IBM and MasterCard Innovation Labs. Mr. Liu, it's my pleasure to have you this afternoon.
Festus, the pleasure is mine. Thank you for inviting me to participate, and thank you for holding the torch of affordable housing in Nigeria.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. Mr. Onolaja, are you here?
Good morning, everyone. I can hear you perfectly.
All right, you're welcome.
And I can see you too.
It's Mr. Tim.
Thank you.
Mr. Tim lead the sales and marketing and communication for Central Global. Mr. Tim has developed a skill in diverse international environments with well over a decade dedicated to emerging African markets. Tim recently concluded over 6.5 years with Rendezvous, Africa's largest city developer. As head of communication and marketing, Tim was responsible for the reputation, brand development, and marketing activity across 5 countries. He developed and managed 14 brands from the ground up while building share of voice for the company across a very stakeholder matrix in 2019, over $30 million USD in advertising value equivalency was created from traditional PR alone, with a potential reach of over 900 million people. This was an increase from 2018 by 300% and 811 respectively. Before joining Rendezvous, Tim spent 5 years with leading global public relations agency Porter Nobeli, based in Lagos, Nigeria. His work included varied corporate and marketing briefs for global clients across a broad range of industries, from large pharmaceutical companies and telecommunications to airlines. Mr. Tim today as one of our guest speakers for this discussion. We're happy to have you today.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be here.
Our speaker, Bamidele Onalaja. Bamidele has his first degree in economics and a master's degree in administration from the Lagos State University. He proceeded to the University of Lagos, where he had his advanced diploma in project management and became a member of the Project Management Institute in the United States of America. In 2004, he joined Agbara Estate as a marketing manager to pioneer the sale of the Viva Home project within the estate and other places of the development, which recorded monumental success. Thereafter, he joined Refuge Home Savings and Loan, mortgage bankers at the head of project and business development, where he pioneered the department and guided the bank into acquiring several landed properties. He later joined Cornerstone Mortgage Bank at the head mortgage operation. Being a new department, he was responsible for the creation of both short-term and long-term mortgages through the various real estate products and development. Bamidele joined Safe Trust Mortgage Bank, formerly Stanley Homes, as the branch manager for the Ikeja branch to drive the business activities. Today, Bamidele Onalaja is the founder and the chief executive of that really leading real estate development company, Revolution Plus Property Development Company Limited, based in Lagos, and who have delivered nothing less than 1,000 houses and have been partnering various state governments, especially the Lagos state government, in the last 5 years. We are happy to have you on the program, Mr. Onalaja.
Thank you so very much, sir. Thank you. My pleasure being here. Good morning, everyone. Thank you.
Now, the business of the day. I want to acknowledge all the speakers, all the people who are connected to us. I can see that a lot of people are really waiting for how to get solutions to the problem. What is the way forward in this very particular time? How do we reach our customers? How is prop tech changing our business life? These are questions a lot of people who are connected on this program are waiting to hear from my very important personality today. So I will start this afternoon with the first speaker, Mr. Jide Odusolu. In what way do we feel developers can reach out to customers online? In what ways do you feel customers, estate developer, building materials company can reach customers online at this very crucial time that social distancing is the order of the day?
Wow. Thanks again, Festus, for having me here. I think the first thing we have to recognize, it's a funny paradox. We're living in a socially distanced time, but we're living in close-knit communities. I think it was Lev when we were speaking earlier on, speaking about this is a time where you're getting to spend time with family. Something that we all would realize is that as you spend time with family, you also have a lot of time on your hands. One of the things we've realized is with people doing work from home, you find that you're doing a whole lot more, even though you're moving around a lot less. So as a developer, as a product merchant, as somebody looking to get attention from the target market, what do you need to do? The first thing to recognize is that we're not playing a mind share game. It's no longer about getting the physical contact, it's about getting the mind share. You've got to be able to catch the attention of the people that you're open to sell or you're open to get to be attracted to your properties. Now, once you understand that you're playing a mind share game, you also have to understand that people are much more discerning. Because they're sitting at home, because they've got time on their hands, they're going to be more critical of every solution that you prefer. They want to know the details. They want to be able to know that you're transparent. They want to know that you're upfront. So in putting our marketing materials or marketing engagement together, you've got to find a way of being able to connect with the prospective market emotionally. But as you connect with them emotionally, you also got to connect with them with facts because they have time. They're going to do the background check on you. They're going to check all the information that you put out there. They're going to check the claims that you put out there. So once you're able to put all of that as your first base, then you have to be relatable. It's not a time now to just be futuristic. You've got to speak to the things that concern or agitate the minds of your market. So like in Octo5, one of the things we try to do is to make sure that we create a relatable brand that focuses on the core challenges people have and begin to identify to them how the solutions and services that we offer will meet those needs. The truth is, Nigeria is a developing country. We have a lot of challenges. We have a high demand, but even with that high demand, people also have scarce resources. So they're not just going to give you their money because they like your face. They're going to give you their money because you give them a reason to show that you can meet their needs. So for us, going digital is non-negotiable, but we're going digital and going there with the details and with the information that we believe that people need to see to be able to get them to commit their mind share to us. It's only when they give you their mind share that you can get their share of wallets.
Thank you so much. I would like to go to Mr. Tim. This is your first round of talking. I don't want you to spend more than 4 minutes. After the 4 minutes, we now go to the second round, which should be like 2 minutes. Then to the last round, which should be like 1 minute. Now, Mr. Tim, you have worked in various organizations and you have this plenty of experience, which you have used to promote, develop a lot of brand. COVID-19 is affecting the marketing of real estate products. What do you think is the way out? What are the methods do you think is the way out that people can explore at this very crucial time? Mr. T.
Thanks, Festus. I think COVID-19 obviously has given everyone a real kick in terms of what they need to do, but I don't necessarily think that it's changed things that dramatically. It's sped it up. Yeah, there's a lot of organizations, including SaySo, that are, sort of well placed to market themselves and market products to audiences. This thing is not permanent. Yeah, many people are looking to position themselves for when this eases off, and now's an opportunity rather than a crisis to get into. SaySo's seen a massive rise in website and social media interaction over the last couple of months. There's an element of window shopping that's going on, but there's some very interesting leads and some very interesting transactions that have come about. This pandemic has sped up what has been a natural progression. The web, and particularly mobile, has been a growth area for some time, in terms of creating brand visibility and incoming inquiries. The beautiful thing about the web and the internet is cost per acquisition. It's far lower than other media. So where you might have been spending a fortune before on a billboard, if you can get the targeting correct, and if you can, instead of just shouting at a broad audience, you can develop algorithms and develop areas where you can speak to a very targeted audience for your product. That's where you start to see some incredible value. That's where you would start to see some cost per acquisition and cost per sale that is far lower than any other channel that you might market with. Webinars such as this are fantastic. Newsletters, interactive chats, brilliant video and stills presentation of developments. They're all going to help capture the imagination of buyers. But with all of that said, and all of those digital skills that can be put into play at this time, and should have been put into play previously and will be put into play in the future, the traditional side of interaction via WhatsApp and video calls, etc., is incredibly important. Yeah. The more established developers have also got a real sort of USP in terms of their previous client base. And going back to those previous buyers for referrals is going to be incredibly important moving forward, particularly over the next couple of months, is to go back to these guys that have already bought the developments and that have already trust in terms of what you are doing, and to re-engage with them. Make sure that you are speaking the right language to them and offering them incentives for them to be your referrers. Yeah. So ultimately, I think that this situation is going to end, you know, whether that's in weeks or months, but it's an opportunity for everybody to position themselves correctly online, but make sure that, you know, sort of the targeting is correct. Don't just shout your message. Make sure that you are using technology for what it is intended for reaching the audience exactly where they are. And that needs a little bit of technical ability. It's something we've managed to develop at SaySo. Very good algorithms that nail down exactly where these people are and what they're looking at this particular time. And we can then insert adverts, and we can insert information from our development partners that really gets them inquiring. And then we start having conversations. So ultimately, it's a mix, digital and then human interaction. You need both.
Thank Mr. Tim. Thank Mr. Tim. You raised a lot of various suggestions. You suggested some good numbers of methodology that can easily be employed, and I believe some of the participants are taking note of that. He has listed them one by one, of which you can engage at this very crucial time. Was the month of April, when we had a lockdown in Nigeria. A client called me and told me he did a transaction of 100 million naira via internet transaction. The product, that is the real estate product, was seen online, and they discussed via email, and money was transferred into the account, and the letter of allocation was also forwarded through email without them seeing themselves. Mr. Liu, it is your turn. What that product do you have that you once brought to Abuja International Housing Show, and you call that product high build? What is high build about? To what extent can you be of help at this crucial time?
So Festus, thank you. So iBuild really is an end-to-end platform that's mobile enabled, which allows for everyone that is producing or desires in the housing and construction market to get together and get what they need in a transparent way that allows for housing production to increase. You know, as we know, housing production in Nigeria and across Africa, a significant amount of production is done with cash. And the ability to be able to find the kind of resources, whether it's laborers or contractors or materials, oftentimes is a challenge. What iBuild has done is it's created an end-to-end technology that allows everyone to enter and to essentially get what they need in a timely fashion to manage those resources and to pay for them, and to ensure that when you do hire a contractor or you do buy materials, that you're satisfied with the product and that you know something about the person that's providing you that service. And that's really essential, especially today, because as the pandemic has shown to us that we no longer will be able to move around as we used to. Now, essentially, we'll need to be able to get things remotely and to be able to manage those resources remotely to be able to get the outcomes that we want in our housing lives, whether it's repair or whether it's an addition or new construction. For developers, if it's managing large projects or multiple projects, even for government institutions, for lenders, to then target people that need money to build their homes, developers who essentially need long-term capital. The only way that we're going to be able to accomplish that is by creating trust and transparency. And that's the platform, the ecosystem that iBuild has constructed.
Remember, there was a time I spoke to you about your products. How can we adopt it for artisans in Nigeria? We can have pool of all artisans together. And there's someone in Lagos Island, if you need an artisan in Lagos Island, you click on the application and it gives you all the list of people in Lafayette, the carpenters, the bricklayer, the whatever that you can engage. So these are, I think I remember discussing that with you, but I will be back. I'll be back very shortly with you to say more. Because we need a rescue. We just need rescue. We need to sell our housing project. We need to sell our building technology. We need to sell our building materials. And this pandemic has affected us. We are now in a new world. We call it the new normal. So there must be a way out. Mr. Akim Ogunero, you have done so well in the housing sector. I've just read about your profile. We are now in a new normal. What is the way forward for us to reach out to our clients?
Okay, thank you very much, Festus. Thank you very much, Festus, and I'd like to join other panelists for appreciating you for putting this together again. I always like to take a value chain approach whenever we discuss the issue around prop tech and real tech, because as a developer, I don't know whether you know, I also sit on the board of a prop tech company, and it's, for me, I think it's always important to understand the interaction between development and real estate technology. Now, before COVID-19, it was clear that technology was disrupting the real estate sector very clearly, and it was just a matter of everybody either keying in into what was happening, or you are left behind by the train in the industry. Now, if you look at the three or four trends of real estate technological innovation, I think for me the most important one is the one that sees property and space as service. That's like the overall theme of the disruption that happens in the real tech space. You know, and every other thing is built around that. So when you talk about collaborative economy, you talk about smart buildings, you talk about creating digital platforms, you know, to manage and deploying digital tools to manage real estate. You know, it's all around that. I think what COVID-19 has done for all of us is that we need to accelerate the pace of change in our various companies, and it's all across the entire value chain. In Nigeria, for example, I'll be looking, for example, at pre-planning. How do we use blockchain technology to digitize real estate data, land data? I'll be looking at the planning stage, things like the iBuild is doing. I was recently looking at an iCloud-based technology by Oracle to manage project management. You know, and when you deliver the assets, you need smart devices, smart tools, also to ensure that you reach out. So today, you know, because of social interaction is going to be very limited. You know, we have to move to the era of virtual and augmented reality, whereby potential customers can sit in their houses and they could take a tour of your property. They could make changes. They could give the input, you know, because now it is the customer that holds sway. And everything that we need to do must be such that we put value on the table from that perspective. I know, of course, that I've also been doing a lot of work on real estate investment because funding is always critical. And one of the things that technology has done is to help to open up funding, for example, through crowdfunding, you know. And so today we speak of tokenization, so you could create a digital equivalent of your assets, and people could buy into it, and that opens up a lot more windows for many more people to invest. It creates flexibility, it creates the kind of liquidity that you want, and it helps you to have a seamless interaction between your physical assets and your digital assets. And I think that's just the way to go. You know, but I think that for all of us, what COVID-19 is telling us, has told us, is that we need to accelerate the pace of that change so that we could deliver more value to the customer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, Mr. Paul, have for you now. What solution do you see to help kickstart the post-pandemic housing sector? What solutions do you see to help kickstart the post-pandemic housing sector?
Thank you very much, Festus. So as you know, as an organization, we're very mixed use, and housing is one part of the mixed use offering that we have. To understand the solutions, I suppose we have to dive into a few of the problems. And maybe if I start from just charting high level what the problems are, then maybe I could focus on some of the solutions. So in terms of problems, the big problems are population, it's just the amount of people, urbanization, so the property requirements are concentrated in a few spaces. The access to things like finance and the supply chain creates certain issues. The infrastructure lag is a major issue. So delivering housing is a lot more expensive than it should be in a normal environment. And I'll say the solutions revolve around three things. Firstly will be the demand side. So from a demand side perspective, you would want to increase accessibility to property for the people who want to buy the property or rent the property. So some of the things that Hakeem spoke about, online registrations, 3D virtual walkthroughs, data sheets available for people, authenticity and transparency in the presentation of housing. So generally a greater shift to the cyber market. From the supply side, I would say for the people who are literally selling these properties or renting these properties, I think the shift to the cyber market works because it enables you to get your product out there cheaper, faster, and in a more authentic way. Having an online verification system as well will help. So when the punters come along, they can actually see what it is you're providing, can verify online, and it bridges that trust gap that Lou spoke about. The online regulatory system, I think, is important at this time. And if there was one thing I could change, if someone asked me if I could wave a magic wand in housing, what's the number one thing I would change? And I'll say it's the regulatory environment. The transparency and authenticity of it is important. It's huge. It will be a major shift if the regulatory environment can work almost in partnership with the provision environment. Then lastly, the third part is the creation side. So the creation side is how do you sort of fast track the properties, bring it in at a cost that's easier to access from the greater population, and ensuring that in this era of the pandemic, just the design considerations, so whether it's social distancing, whether it's the hygiene, whether it's the property being more environmentally friendly, so some of those issues will be extremely important. So from a solution point of view, government intervention, I think is one in terms of infrastructure, in terms of online, in terms of regulatory environments. I think PPPs should be encouraged because the private sector know how to deliver these things. The issue is usually cost and timing. The transparency of the system. So whether from a planning point of view, from a title registration point of view, those things we need to find a way to muscle them up faster. So there are no real cures, but there is something that does happen in many parts of the world in terms of planning. So one of the big costs of property development, whether it's housing or any other sector, is that the regulatory environment creates a lot of cost that doesn't go back into the housing. So before you actually put a brick in the ground or dig a hole in the ground, you spend 20 to 30% of the money. How do we sort of tackle that? It's a very hard discussion to have, and it requires a lot of people in the room.
country, Nigeria, is at war with the ravaging virus, COVID-19. At Revolution Plus Property, we understand the impact of this pandemic on the society and how important it is for us to come together in unity. To ease the effect of the pandemic, we made available relief materials to vulnerable communities. Thanks to you, our esteemed customers and partners, Revolution Plus Property is touching lives to you. We also must all continue to adhere to safety measures and precautions by washing our hands regularly with soap and running water, using alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Always maintain social distancing. If you must go out, wear a face mask and avoid crowded places. If you suspect anyone with the COVID-19 symptoms, call the NCDC. This message is brought to you by Revolution Plus Property.
To the quality, to the functionality of the properties, everything that they've done shows you that this is the top tier of luxury real estate at an affordable price.
Now there's more than enough reason for you to visit www.thehavenhomes.com today.
I just want to live there.
Haven Homes. Home is where the art is.
I just want to live here. A Haven home will be my own. So brother, come live here. Come live at Haven home.
So, how's that going?
Aha! I see what's wrong.
What?
The wall doesn't match your elegance.
Then we must do something about it right away.
At Royal Ceramics, we offer you a wide range of beautiful wall and floor tiles designed specially to fit your lifestyle.
So, what do you guys think?
Thank goodness we changed to tiles.
I agree.
Like mother, like daughter.
I want to go back to Mr. Tim. I know Mr. Tim and Mr. Paul have done a lot of work in Nigeria, and therefore I want to go back to them so that they can give me more explanation. Mr. Tim, are you here with me?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
Yes. I would like to ask you that question, which has to do with what you and how is CESO, your CESO Global, how have you bringing a shift in Nigeria property market to digital? What I'm saying, how does the blockchain impact on real estate? Can you please explain to us?
Sure, yeah. I mean, obviously, CESO is sort of predominantly a marketplace, but it's not just a marketplace in terms of presenting developments. It's a full ecosystem. So again, we bring in everything to do with the transaction into one platform. So lawyers, sort of finance instruments, etc., are all built into this platform, and that's utilizing the tech of blockchain. And as Paul's rightly said, sort of this supports transactions comprehensively. Yeah, there's very little intermediaries, so you transact fully on one platform. So you don't have to run to lots of different people to sort of fulfill the transaction. The documents themselves are all stored transparently. So there's verifiable transactions. So that trust element is incredibly important. Yeah, building trust between all parties. Yeah, so there's the buyer, the seller, but also if financiers are involved, sort of the lawyers, etc. Everybody needs to see these documents and understand that, sort of this development is a very real development. What we've seen, our marketing process, we talk a lot to diaspora. We're a little bit more unique in some respects in the Nigerian market, that we proactively go out to hunt down diaspora clients as well as Nigerian clients. We're not reactive. We don't just wait for people to come and visit the platform. Okay, so again, this is stretching back to something I've talked about the marketing and proactively, sort of searching out this target audience. So once you find these guys, they're immediately, and in particular from the diaspora, they're a little less trusting of Nigeria. They're a little less trusting of the property market in Nigeria. Now, our platform, again, once you start to see that blockchain is involved and you're able to build all of the ecosystem under one principle and one system, people start to gain that trust back, and they start to then see that they can interact via the platform, SaySo platform, with developers, with the lawyers, and they know that there is a backstop, that there is sort of the foundations are correctly built. I think ultimately what we've seen is reduce fraud entirely. There is a major issue, and Paul's quite right with regulatory. And I think once that comes on board, so it's going to be a long road to get the regulatory guys on board with this. But once they do, the value chain that's been unlocked by that is incredible. And that's something that we're actively trying to pursue at the moment.
Thank you so much for that. Now I'll be going back to Mr. Jide Odusolo. I've seen you on various platforms on social media. I've seen you on television. And I've also seen your company's adverts, your Google adverts on various online newspapers. It's like you seem to have a plan ahead of us. Amen. I have to go digital. Please, can you tell us, are you getting results of all these things? That's number one. Then my second question to you is for you to tell me what is the effect of PropTech on business. How is PropTech changing our business? How is PropTech changing our business? And I asked earlier, how this campaign you have done here and there, can you share your experience with some of the participants who are here? Some of them who are chief executive, some are marketers. Please, can we hear from you?
All right. Thanks, Festus. First, closely linked to what Akim and also Tim has said, the key thing about technology is that it's disruptive. And the second key thing about technology is that it actually moves ahead of regulation. So in most instances, if you look at other industries, whether you want to talk about Uber or even Amazon and all of them that you see today, they went ahead of regulation, and regulation has to do catch up. And I don't think it's going to be any different in Nigeria. Now, we had the good fortune of having been around for quite a while and being the old media, old school type of developer. Somebody spoke earlier about spending so much money on paper adverts. We've done all of that. And to go directly to the question you asked, if I compare our spend digitally to what it used to be, we're spending a fraction of what we were spending in the past on digital campaigns, and we're getting 5 times the results. Now, maybe that's because people are stuck at home, or maybe it's the fact that we've done quite a bit of targeting. Tim was quite right when he spoke about using algorithms. We've been able to aggregate well over 30,000 prospective subscribers within the last 6 months, purely through digital campaigns. And digital campaigns are quite focused. So it has been quite effective. And I think it's still going to be more effective in the future. One of the things we've been working on is to focus on demand aggregation. And when I speak about demand aggregation, I speak of clear demand that's defined, people who not only are interested, people who have the capacity to actually invest in real estate. And when we profile most of this demand, we're actually also discovering that quite a number of people that are coming to us, we're not even ready for them yet, or we don't have properties in the areas they're interested in. But because we've created platforms that they can relate to, platforms that answer most of the questions that they have, they do come to us and they're sharing data with us. We found that data is the gold that we're going to be relying on in this new normal. And that's one of the first things we've been working on. The second thing we're working on is how to optimize our supply chain and capacity. I think Paul alluded to that earlier on, because the two major crises in real estate. You've got the demand side, being able to profile effective demand, and then you've got supply side, being able to actually deliver and deliver qualitatively. So one of the things that tech has done for us, on one hand, we've been able to create apps and a web platform that helps us to resolve the issue of demand aggregation and actually identifying real demand and effective demand. The second part that we're now working on is to be able to optimize supply chain. So I probably will be talking with Lev about iBuild and see whether we can backward integrate instead of creating a whole new app for that. Because one of the things we're trying to do now is be able to systemize not just the supply chain, but the capacity. You're talking of artisans and all of that. There are major issues, there are major quality control issues. And now that we're working remotely, it's more difficult to actually monitor what goes on most sites. So we're having to rely on technology to do that. I think that in the new normal that we face, every developer would have to better define what they're pushing, who they're pushing it to, and then find solutions around the prop tech sector that enables them to that. There are quite a lot of solutions out there. One of the things we found out also is that quite a lot of solutions speak to leasing and speak to after development management. There are very few that actually speak to the development process. That's why we're having to create many of those ourselves. But when you do create them, it makes your work much easier. Like I said, we've got over 30,000 subscribers that we'll be able to aggregate within the last 90 days. Now we're moving to being able to pre-qualify many of those and know those who actually fit into what we're doing right now and those who will have to be looking at for future development projects. I hope that answers the question.
You have answered my question. Thank you. I'll get back to you again. Now, let me use this opportunity to announce that the 14th Abuja International Housing Show will be a virtual exhibition and a virtual conference. Mr. Tim and his team, Mr. Paul, already been informed, so they are going to be part of our partner. Lewis Suman, we have to let me know what kind of support is going to give. We want to ensure that everything we have been saying, we can practicalize it, and it will get more people than the one we have been having in the last 13 years. So let me now go to Liu Schumann. Mr. Liu, what do you think what can your company do for us at this crucial time? You have explained about your product. Please, can you just highlight one by one so that the people who are watching this program can go with something from you? Highlight, what can you do for them? What can they benefit from you in this new normal?
Well, thank you, Festus. You know, it's interesting because every one of the speakers has touched on an aspect of what needs to happen in order for housing to take on increased momentum. I think, you know, we've gotten used to using technology in certain ways, and the need is to challenge technology to catch up with the dynamics of the marketplace. And I think that one of the things that we're seeing at the moment is how important trust is in the marketplace. When you're constructing a home, let's use a developer as an example. Typically, you know, when we speak to developers and you ask them about their workforce, they will reply that some good, some not, some average, some better than average. And you ask them, well, why aren't you looking for new contractors? The difficulty is there's not enough information about the contracting workforce in order for you to be able to move new contractors into your space. It's sort of the devil I know is better than the devil I don't know. And, you know, the reality is that that is a very low threshold for producing quality product. And the reality is that, you know, scalable solutions for a market, whether it's housing, construction, transportation, if it can't scale, it's not a solution. So what iBuild does, it really looks at that problem for housing and construction, and it creates a technology that you can trust. As you know, there are simple ways to accomplish that, whether it's certifications that people may have, whether it's real-time ratings of work that they've done previously. It's photographs of projects that they've done, it's references that they can provide. When all of those are on a single platform, it gives you a better than even chance of getting better quality workforce. And that is the methodology that we employ throughout the platform, whether it's insurance companies, and I'll use Kenya as an example, like Britam Insurance, that are offering new insurance products to the informal sector through the iBuild platform, or whether it's financial institutions like Faulu or KCBA who are looking for new mortgage customers or managing the mortgage money that they're putting into the marketplace, whether it's developers who are managing multiple projects in multiple countries or multiple projects in their own country, or whether it's a worker who is looking for a job opportunity because he can't afford to travel around the city, spend his last naira or shilling to hopefully get picked to work on a particular job site. iBuild is addressing these things head on. And of course, what is incredibly invaluable is what we learn. And data is the most informative of all learning tools, whether it's the habits of individuals, whether it's their spending habits, whether it's where they prefer to live, how much money they have to spend, what their financial profile is. And as we all know, one of the major issues for developers is off-takers. Where do we find enough off-takers to continue to build the scale? So what iBuild has done is it's created an end-to-end platform where everyone must go. If you want to get a good worker, or you want to get a good contractor, or you want in real time to manage your workforce and get updates about the progress, or you want to apply for a mortgage and make a request directly, iBuild is the platform that you go to. And of course, our partners like the World Bank, who are now using the iBuild tools, such as the quality control tool, which is in the platform to measure the effectiveness of building programs in Southeast Asia and other countries. The reality is that this is what technology should do. It should rise to the occasion. It should stay ahead of the curve, and it should allow for the connection of all resources within a market to create the scale that we all desire.
Thank you, Mr. Liu, for that. Now, I'll be going to, I just got this question for Mr. Akim Ogunero. There's this fear in the mind of a lot of people that if money is involved as a means of transaction in an online business, the possibility that you may be duped is very high. And therefore, issue of trust is paramount in what we are advocating for. Housing markets shift to cyber amid pandemic. How do we go against this, the fraudulent as part of it? Does government need to do anything? We need to hear from you. By the way, you are also a lawyer.
Thank you, Festus. I think there are two issues that we need to address there. The first thing that we need to stress is that for any real estate sector to grow in any economy, transparency is very key. If you have followed the GLL index for the past 5-6 years, right, only Kenya has moved to only Nairobi as a city has moved to the transparent segment of the core. And that is why you see that in the past few years, Nairobi has consistently shown as one of the top 20 cities in the GLL City Momentum Index globally. Now, transparency leads to trust. Of course, people are worried about online transactions, but you have, and that's what technology does. Technology helps to build the interaction that leads to that trust. And of course, the integrity of the developer himself is very critical. Today, for example, I have customers in Canada. I have customers in the UK who have bought offline, who have bought offline, and who pay monthly. As a matter of fact, I was surprised even during this lockdown. You know, my customers in the UK, they've still made their monthly remittance, you know, towards the project. Even when I told them that we had closed down the sites, it will soon open based on the rules. You know, so I think that as we begin to put forward the significance and the importance of helping ourselves to create the right platform for this sort of interaction, I think we're going to make some progress. Now, let me just make, because it's important that we contextualize some of these things that we're discussing. I think as a country, and Paul already spoke to some of these, as a country, there are some critical elements of prop tech that we need to pay particular attention to. If you look at the entire value chain, right, our problem starts from pre-planning, from land administration. So it is critical that we encourage governments to move to the level that they deploy proper blockchain technology to help and solve the problems around that. When you solve that problem, you have helped to reduce a lot of the headache along the value chain. And once you do that, it becomes a whole lot easier for you to begin to recreate value along the chain. Thank you very much.
I think I got the question to that, the other one that you explained concerning the land registry issue versus blockchain, which was a question that somebody sent to Tim. Though I will get back to Tim, I have the question here, but I'm happy with the way Mr. Oguniro explained to it that the government need to also assist in this area of the land registry matter. Mr. Paul, I'm back to you. Looking at the present situation, we are still talking about the trust on online transaction with some of us prop tech that we are going to. I would also like to hear your own view as you are a senior practitioner, especially in the area of commercial real estate. So I want you to talk in line with your own area of specialization now. Mr. Ogunina is a residential. You are a commercial real estate specialist. What do you have to tell us as far as this issue of prop tech is concerned? Trust, integrity. How can government safeguard the interest of operators?
Thank you, Festus. I learn something every day. I thought Hakeem was an expert in both residential and commercial, but I didn't actually realize he was a lawyer too. But let me try my best. One of my fortes, I'm not really a cyber technician, but I do have a view, as you know. So how can the government basically make things easier and safeguard? You know, one of the first things I said when I listed the challenges in the property development world was authenticity and transparency. So the first thing is that any technology that brings about 100% transparency and authenticity will always create progress. So that's one. Two, one of the things that the real estate industry hasn't done too well in conversations with the government is how do we create more tax incentives to enable real estate, the creation of real estate, to be cheaper and faster. So we have a situation where we pay fees to register a title, we pay fees to get a building consent, and we pay fees whilst we're developing for the planners to actually check the quality of what we're doing. And then we also pay sort of infrastructure and development fees and land use fees as you go along. Meanwhile, it doesn't appear that any of these fees are recycled back in to make it cheaper to produce your buildings. So in the commercial world, we suffer from this a lot, because if you have to provide your road access, provide your security, provide your power, your water, your sewage, you find out that maybe 40% of your life cycle costs are going into things that the municipal authority should have provided. So that's the second. The third is something I'm familiar with just from planning designation, and this is probably more specific to housing and maybe industrial health, and education. But there's some housing sectors, some property sectors that are less viable commercially than others, like health, education, and low-cost housing to an extent. So in order to give low-cost housing legs, it requires planning designations. It requires a body, whether it's a municipal authority, a local authority, a state authority, or a federal authority, to designate certain areas as housing-only areas. So there's nothing else you can put in those areas, and actually enforce a cost of land, a ceiling, to ensure that nothing, that once a developer comes to develop property there, there's a maximum amount of money that they should pay to create that property, just from a land perspective. And from an infrastructure perspective, rather than ask the developer to pay all the fees, what I would have liked to see would be for the developer, in UK it's called Section 106, the planning law. The developer basically takes on some of the responsibility of the municipal authority. So by producing a development, you may say, well, it needs better access, or it needs a local school because there's more housing here. The developer provides the money or the infrastructure for those things directly, rather than paying it to a government who then reapportions it in the way they deem fit. So I think the property development world in Nigeria, we have a lot of conversations, very difficult conversations, I believe, to be had with the government. And I've touched on three things, as I said: transparency, just in just having a system. So I like the blockchain technology, but having a system that's transparent. The second thing I mentioned was the tax incentives and the tax breaks and the tax encouragement. And then the third thing was planning designations. How do you reduce the cost of entry in the first instance? So you keep housing at the cost of the bricks and mortar rather than the paper and the land.
Thank you for that. I have a message here. Akim Oguniro, the use of blockchain is the way to go as regards land tightening and the entire housing value chain. How do you develop a key into this? I'll come back to you. You answer that question later.
The world, and indeed our country, Nigeria, is at war with the ravaging virus, COVID-19. At Revolution Plus Property, we understand the impact of this pandemic on the society and how important it is for us to come together in unity. To ease the effect of the pandemic, we made available relief materials to vulnerable communities. Thanks to you, our esteemed customers and partners, Revolution Plus Property is touching lives to you. We also must all continue to adhere to safety measures and precautions by washing our hands regularly with soap and running water, using alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Always maintain social distancing. If you must go out, wear a face mask and avoid crowded places. If you suspect anyone with the COVID-19 symptoms, call the NCDC. This message is brought to you by Revolution Plus Property.
To the quality, to the functionality of the properties, everything that they've done shows you that this is the top tier of luxury real estate at an affordable price.
Now there's more than enough reason for you to visit www.thehavenhomes.com today. Haven Homes. Home is where the art is.
I just wanna live here. A haven home will be my own. So brother, come live here. Come live at Haven Home.
So, how's that going?
Aha! I see what's wrong.
What? What?
The world doesn't match your elegance.
Then we must do something about it right away.
At Royal Ceramics, we offer you a wide range of beautiful wall and floor tiles designed specially to fit your lifestyle.
So, what do you guys think?
Thank goodness we changed to tiles.
I agree.
Like mother, like daughter.
Mr. Abdallah, please, can you share your experience with us on this program? As the chief executive, one of the leading real estate company in Lagos, Nigeria, how you are being able to reach out to your clients, your customers, your target people at this very pandemic time.
Thank you so very much. My brother Festus, thank you. And thank you for putting this program together. And my co-panelists, thank you so very much. I've been listening to everything. When you said the leading real estate company in Lagos, it's actually in Nigeria because we have offices in Abuja, we have offices in Ibadan, we have in Port Harcourt, we have in Abeokuta, and we have in Dallas, Texas. Evolution Plus have an international office that is situated in the heart of the United States, that's Dallas. And we do so many businesses there because we have so many clients in diaspora. So what has helped us so much, the truth of the matter is that COVID-19 has been able to open our eyes that what PropTech, real estate, the advantage technology can do in real estate. And it's been massive. We have about 6 offices all over Nigeria, then Dallas, Texas. How do we connect them? It's technology. And we've been able to I've deployed so much millions this period because technology is not cheap. It's very expensive. Video conferencing, then sometimes WebEx and Zoom meeting. I've been able to connect our offices together. I have management meetings with all my branch managers, my head of department, the HOTs, every Mondays. How do we able to do that? We connect the whole offices, even the one outside Nigeria, through technology. I've been able to do it perfectly during this time. So we have perfected, we do deep video conferencing a lot. Another thing that I've been able to do for inspection that worked very well during this time is a virtual tour. We took a ride across all our estates. We have over 35 estates in Nigeria right now that cut across every section of the country. Some of them are sold out already. We provide infrastructures. Some of them are sites and services, and some of them are built up environment, houses that we are selling. Revolution Plus is, we pride ourselves in affordable housing and affordable luxury. It is in us, you can see a property was 800,000, 850, and you can see a land of 50 million naira and a house of 50 million naira, still in Revolution. So we do both the informal sector, formal and the semi-formal, both the rich, the poor, and the average comes to Revolution Plus. So we deploy so much in virtual tour now. In our touring system, once you are interested in that particular estate, it will look as if you are on the land. The location is there. Every landmark of every estate is there. You will see the land. You can touch and feel it. We do that for all our estates and also our housing projects. So many clients now, we discovered that so many clients, because of this COVID, they said they don't want to come for inspection physically. Just send me the video. So once you send them the video with detailed information of how the properties are, they are okay and fine. And this season, just like what Mr. Akim Oguniro said, we also discovered that this period, the diaspora market for us increased exponentially. So many people are just paying money in dollars, not naira or dollars. So I received so much dollars this period from the United States of America. Buying Nigerians are investing so much back home now because everybody wants to come back home. So everybody now they are just paying money. They are consistent when they believe and they can trust your brand. And that's what we pride in, trust, Revolution Plus. We built trust over the years. And that's why people love the brand and they are working with us. So this digital system, everybody has gone digital. We have gone digital big time now. So many things we are doing before, we are no more doing. Inspection, we have cancelled in some areas. Don't go for physical inspection, do virtual tour. do video conferencing. You can come to our boardroom. We'll show you the exact replica of the housing. You can feel it. You can see the voice portal. You can see the houses, the room, the dimension of each houses. I have a very large team that we work with: engineers, artisans, architects, lawyers that work closely with me to make sure that we deliver. So we've gone digital, and it's been very, very productive. And I tell you, it's more expensive rather than doing the normal conventional way.
At the end of the day, many people will lose their job.
Yes,
absolutely. Will lose their
absolutely.
job. So what do we do about those ones that are going to lose job?
Yeah, well, digital, that's the irony of 5 people are doing, 1 or 2 people will do it. So you cannot really not. What we do in Revolution Plus is that we, right now as I speak with you, the management meeting yesterday, I mandated them to recruit more marketers. So because so many people that have lost their job now are looking for what to do. So this is the time they need a mentor, the best real estate person that they can do and do big time and become a guru. Once they're able to perfect the art of selling in real estate, you'll be very, very good. So people losing their job, I've not fired any of my staff, none of them, but definitely some people will lose.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All the participants that are joining this program, most especially those that are chief executive and those who are participants, we have to really think out of the box and come out with new ideas. And one of the ideas I've been saying is this issue of virtual tour. Virtual tour is very important at this time. Instead of carrying anybody to the site, people can easily visit your site. People can easily visit your site online. You can discuss, do anything with them, and that's a very good area that I will suggest for those people that are. That's one of the things that you must take from this program. I have a question for you. Have you guys been able to connect to land registry? I don't know if the person is still asking what is the root credential of your blockchain. Please, can you just provide answer for the one you can answer then? Mr. Tim, are you here? Yeah, this issue of land registry. How are you able to connect? You have done so well in the area of PropTech, and the report I have with me says that you guys are leading, not only in Nigeria and even in UK. Please, have you guys been able to connect to land registry?
Sure, which specific land registry? But yes, we're in discussions a lot with various governments, and that's federal, state, but also sort of across Africa. There's a lot of things that have been done, haven't there, in terms of land registry? I mean, Lagos State government from 2015, I think it was, with the electronic CFOs, etc. And that's commendable, but it's only a partial way forward, and really it's another verification of the in terms of blockchain and land registry, it's an incredibly, and it's been touched on by people like Paul, etc. It's an incredibly complex sort of stakeholder relationship that needs to be undertaken to ensure that everybody is on board, and especially the major partners of that being government, state government. Conversations are ongoing in Nigeria, and we're moving ahead in a couple of areas with sort of the digitization aspect. Ghana, again, sort of, I'm sure a lot of people know about what's been happening there. It's something that is an incredible opportunity for everybody, yeah. But it's also something that unfortunately needs a little bit of time and a little bit of walking through cautiously, just to make sure that everybody is on board with it, and it comes out in a cohesive 360-degree platform, rather than just doing it piecemeal. If we do it piecemeal, we're still going to be stuck into that same issues that we're all experiencing. Blockchain is, sort of, is certainly, I won't call it the holy grail, but it's certainly the sort of the area that will enable us to get a little bit further in terms of land registry and digitization of that. It's something that it's a tool that can be used, but the will has to be there from the stakeholders. And that's something that we're continuing to engage with in Nigeria.
Now we are getting to the last segment of the program. It has been a wonderful time on this webinar discussion today. Even myself, I've gained a lot from my speakers. You have exposed me to another way. Some things can be done in my office. In fact, you have pushed me to now be with you on a virtual exhibition. So I'm going digital. So now, but the problem there, Mr. HDAN Webinar, what is the fate of people? Are we not going to have so much unemployment? Are we not approaching a period where crime will take over? Because some of you will have no reason anymore. Where you have been using 10 people, you have to use 3 people. So what do you have to say about this? And with it, make your last statement on this program.
Well, first, we're looking forward to the first virtual AHS conference. I think it's going to be quite exciting. I don't think digitization should be feared. And I don't think it's totally accurate to say people are going to lose their jobs as much as to say people will have to redefine their jobs and their roles. I mean, everybody's spoken about virtual walkthroughs. We've all spoken about transparency, being able to put enough data and information online so people can reach it. But one of the things that you've also got to notice that when you do all of this digitization and virtual call centers, there are people that have to man them. So one of the things we've done internally, for example, is that a lot of our people are now having to get used to the fact that they work longer hours, they work in shifts, because somebody sitting down in Sydney, Australia, and is going on our web portal and he wants to find out about Stowe. He's not going to wait until 8 a.m. Nigerian time to make his inquiry. He wants to make his inquiry there and then. That means somebody has to be on the back end ready to take that call. So a lot of the marketing personnel, a lot of the client service personnel are being trained to work differently. So one of the things we've also done, for example, even though Lagos is now partially open, is that we actually work semi-casual hours. What does that mean? It means a lot more of our people are working from home. We've actually had to encourage a lot of our people to work from home. Some of our engineers no longer come to the offices. They go straight to site. And even when they go to site, they're working on shifts. Everybody is now working with all sorts of mobile platforms and mobile devices and apps, because that is the way it's going to go. So I don't think people are going to lose their jobs. I think people are going to have to be retrained. And I think some people are going to have to find different sectors within the industry within which to play. To the general population of the general people who are out there who are in development, I think real estate is quite interesting. It's quite exciting. The fact is we're dealing with an industry where we have more demand than supply, and we have significant supply issues. So just like what my brother Bolaji said about what they're doing in Revolution Plus, we are also facing the same challenges where, like I said earlier on, we're being forced to introduce sites in locations where we had no plans to introduce sites, but people that know us are saying to us, this is where we want to be. So developers are going to have to be more proactive. People like Tim are going to have to do a whole lot more in data aggregation and data dissemination, because data will tell us where the people are, data will tell us what the people want, and data will make us refine our products and our projects to meet those needs. At the same time, I also think that the future of Nigeria, I will say it again, I believe in disruption. I don't believe in waiting for government. I believe that we need to get going. We need to get a lot of things ongoing. A lot of changes being made need to be fast-tracked. If I think back to where we started our first, where we did Ocean Bay over 10, 15 years ago, we had one title document, and that's what we used to create our own digital virtual land registry that a lot of the people that bought into the project were actually subscribing to. And that's where trust comes in. We're going to find that a lot of virtual trading is going to take place in real estate. So that people are going to be buying properties, people are going to be buying options in property and actually looking to trade them without ever actually work fundamentally like everybody else. And they have no intention of ever actually taking possession of the property. What they hope to do is to flip it. And if you're going to flip a property, you do not need to register title to it. You do not need to own the title to it. And they begin, so we're having to create a trustworthy marketplace that people can actually use to trade. So I think digitization is very interesting. It's not to be feared. I think it's to be embraced. And I wish everybody good luck.
So much, Mr. Jide, you have done well. I have this question here. How do we handle issue of timing in relation to how long it takes to get information regarding properties registered with the government offices? Will the delays not discourage prospective clients from going ahead with the transaction? Mr. Akim Oguniro, please help me look into this question and also make your last statement on the issue bothering you on this program today, especially as it relates to PropTech.
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, the issue of delays in the land registry, we've already spoken about it. You know, I think the way to go is to digitize all the land registries. I know, for example, that a lot of work is currently going on in Lagos. We're hoping that once that is concluded, that will help to solve all the nightmares around that. Now, let me start from where Jide I just stopped, because you know I'm a developer like Jide, you know, and when we speak PropTech, I always like to emphasize that in real estate there will always be two legs. There will be the digital aspect, there will be the physical aspect, because digital aspect will enable the transaction, but you still have to execute the transaction. So it is clear we need to have that in our heads, and that's the way I've tried to position my business, for example. There are three things I like to just say to round up in terms of trends that we need to watch out as a country. The first thing is that now with the new rules on social interaction, I think as developers, it is important for us to be a lot more granular in our designs. There are simple things that we have to infuse in our designs that will help social interaction. Things as simple as remote sensor doors, that we don't have to touch the doors, remote sensor faucets in bathrooms and things like that. Mind, crowdfunding is already moving very fast globally. Incidentally, there are new rules on crowdfunding also in Nigeria now. SEC just exposed the draft. Unfortunately, the maximum amount you can raise under the rule is 100 million naira. You know, that won't even buy you 2 plots of land. You know, so I'm not sure that those rules are designed for the real estate segment. You know, but it's a way to start from. You know, the whole world is moving towards tokenization. So all the rules which are currently inhibiting the flotation of all those mutual funds that can help you to pool funds, to aggregate funds and really do big things, we need also to pay particular attention to that. The final point for me is in terms of big data. Of course, we've already had a webinar on data on this platform before. Data is so critical today. Data is so critical. I mean, I sit on the board of Professor Nyageta is the chairman of First Homes Africa, and he invited me to join the board late last year. You know, and that has really opened my eyes to the significance of data aggregation. So today, you know, and I don't want to reinvent the wheel as a developer. You know, I'm looking to collaborating with those who have already done all the work. And today, it is possible to know how many people want this type of houses in Lekki, what are the type of houses they want, what is their budget, how much are they able to pay, how many people want houses in Ikeja, what are the type of houses they want. So that drives your development pipeline. And that is the way we need to go. In the new dispensation, you cannot just do opportunistic development. We have to be a lot more targeted, we have to be a lot more focused, and we have to be a lot more, you know, we have to deploy data smartly to deliver value across the value chain for our customers. Thank you very much.
Mr. Akim Oguniro, you have not disappointed me. You have met my expectation. You have been around for some time, and you have made my day. I have this question here, and I'll be taking the question to Mr. Paul. In the absence of good infrastructural development, especially electricity, and poor and high costs of internet connectivity in most of the African countries, coupled with the fact that most online fraud are perpetrated within seconds. What plans are being made to inculcate blockchain technology to drive housing market without this infrastructure? And we want Mr. Paul to look into that. And I want him to use the opportunity to round up and say every important thing that he must let us know in this program today within 3 minutes.
Thank you, Festus. So, and thanks for the question. I don't know whether I'm the most educated to answer that. I think it's probably more of a question I'm hoping that Tim will shed more light on in his roundup. But let me touch on it, because I was going to touch on it in my roundup, because I have effectively 3 things to share in my roundup, and hopefully we'll touch on this. And there's no doubt that if blockchain technology is embraced and used, and all the dots are connected, there's no doubt it will be a game changer within the housing market and the real estate market as a whole. Absolutely no doubt, because it will ease so many different connecting points. I would say though, and again, it's a call to Tim, and I like some of the things that Jide said, so I'm going to lean on it, is that, one of the issues we have in life, especially in real estate, is that we come on platforms like this, and we don't always call out the people who have a huge impact in what changes our lives and makes things easier, because half of the time they're never on these platforms. So I made a promise to myself 3 or 4 years ago, that if I ever am given a microphone on any platform, I will call out the people who should make a change if they're not doing it. And so my first point is on the macro level, is I think there's some huge changes that need to be made on a macro level that's outside the speciality and outside the control of real estate practitioners. But what is inside our control is it's our responsibility, not just to our own generation, but future generations of developers to come, to ensure that the governments begin to listen, to change the things that just stall our progress. We can't keep on fighting this war where we move forward 2 steps and we get dragged backwards 1 step. So without infrastructure, real estate, social housing, affordable housing is an impossibility without the infrastructure, because you can't spend 30-40% of your life cycle costs on something that someone else is meant to provide, and then no apologies for not providing it. So macro-wise, the person who wrote the question has a strong point. If there's no power, there's no internet, there are no roads, there's no running water, there's no sewage system, I'm not secure in my house, how on earth can I begin to talk of provision of affordable and convenient housing? So there's some macro issues that need to be resolved, and if any real estate developer gets into government, I implore you to change that first. Because real estate not only creates employment, but it also drives economies forward. The second point I'd like to make is basically it's just this digital world. So in order to change real estate from a digitization point of view, it needs to cut across various parts of the value chain. So it needs to cut across the finance. It needs to be easier to access finance. I don't think the banks in the country, as I said, I'm going to use this as a mantle to call out the people that should be called out. I don't think the financial institutions, the central bank, the banks, the investors understand how to finance real estate. These are not apples and oranges. It's not a trade. It's a 25, 30, 40-year life cycle, right? So we need to find a way to assess the funding easier, to create some longevity in the funding, and to ensure that the rates are sustainable. You can't fund in double-digit rates and every 3 years it doubles in price, and you expect someone who's a civil servant earning 100,000 naira a year to ever buy or rent a decent home. Can't. So we need the digitalization to cut across finance, to cut across supply chain, to cut across the demand side, to cut across the regulatory environment, but it cuts across many parts. And lastly, the third thing I'll say is perhaps, again, speaking to people I have no control over, I think the time has come for us to begin to create planning laws that are more advantageous to the real estate development industry, as opposed to more advantageous as a roadblock put in place to extract or to make things difficult, right? Or extract tolls. So I think we need to think together, look at best practice around the world, and begin to put in place planning laws that are transparent, that are digitized, so people can understand essentially what you can build where, how you can build it, what you have to pay, and where that money goes to. And we need to follow that entire chain of things. And I think technology and digitalization has a lot to play. Lastly, and that's my third point, but lastly, I would say that we have witnessed in the last few years changes in both infotech and biotech. The progress in infotech and biotech have shaken the value of even the human system, right? It's high time that the real estate industry begins to benefit from some of those digital changes across our entire value chain. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paul. You have also made me my day. Very impressed. Now, I have this question for Mr. Onolaja, Bamidele Onolaja. In the course of your presentation, the question came that what does it cost you to build an infrastructure in your estate and then throw the cost to the government as tax holiday? Is there any plan to do something like that? Because you deliver a housing project, if you put the cost of the infrastructure, it will affect the cost of the house. You get what I'm saying? And now they are asking, instead of you putting the cost of the infrastructure, can't you give the cost of the infrastructure to the government as tax holiday? Please, can you just provide this response within 3 minutes? And that will be your last statement.
Thank you so very much, Oga Festus. Putting the cost of any infrastructure in your estate to the government might be, all my fellow developers can testify to it, might be an Herculean task because it's a private development. Putting it as tax holiday, I pay tax as a company and I pay it huge. You don't want to know how much I pay in a year for tax, both LIRS and FIRS, and everybody seated there as discussants also pay. So when it comes to private development, I cannot push such to the government. I'm not sure the government will accept that or give me any tax rebate because I provide infrastructure, which naturally, housing naturally is a thing for the government that should provide. It's their right to give us, all of us, shelter. It shouldn't be, but because they cannot do it alone, private developers like us, all my colleagues all over the world came together to work with the government and assist the government. What thing you can gain from the government is goodwill in terms of tax rebate. Every government all over the world love their taxes. The US government doesn't joke with its tax. In fact, it's their number one because that's what they use in developing the country. And also UK. So, and also Nigeria also. We are getting there. So when we build, the infrastructure development of our estates is huge. And who pays it? Who pays it? Mostly is being divided and brought down and paid by the would-be buyers. Because number one, for you to live in a very nice estate, you must be ready to pay service charge, infrastructure development charge that eventually make the estate very accommodating and affordable, available, and very good for you and your family to live. So you have to be ready to pay some good infrastructure development levy. So, and such levy will be paid by the buyers. The government cannot say because you give me good infrastructure in such estate, your people are buying there, because when you sell such estate, the houses you are selling, the money goes to you, not to the government. So the government will even tax you on such development that you've done. They'll tax big time. So, but there's some goodwill. Also, another thing that Mr. Ogunira mentioned, which I've been advocating for so long, is documentation. It takes too long for us to do documentation in this country. The Lagos State government is doing so much now because, the governor is a practitioner in real estate. He understands the challenges. Now, other state governments should take over and learn from him. Immediately that policy comes out, I'm sure, And my prayer is that within 30 days, 40 days, or 2 months, we should have a CFO, governor's consent, perfected. So if you can do all this one, it will be very, very good.
At this point, I want to say a very big thank you to all the people who have connected. I hope all of you have benefited from today's discussion. And you now have a new way to do your business. You now have a new idea on how to solve the problem of social distancing at this epidemic. On behalf of Housing Development Advocacy Network, I want to say thank you to everyone. And I say, this is the end of the webinar discussion for today. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Festus.
Everyone else.
Thank you.